The back and forth mod is a fun smob to work with, but it can be a little tricky to use if you're not familiar with it. Let's go over the user prefs. The first thing you notice is something that says Hover Me. The checkbox doesn't actually do anything, so it doesn't matter if it's selected or not. However, if you hover your cursor over the words Hover Me, you'll see some important information. In this case, it gives us information on how to adjust it, but I'll explain it in a little bit. Let's go ahead and look at the other options. Default state tells our object what to do. Continuous will make the object travel back and forth continuously. Start position will put the object at the start position, which is represented by the small sphere, and it will remain there. End position will put the object at the end position, which is at the end of the line, and it will remain there. kph determines how fast the object will travel in kilometers per hour. In our scene, 1 unit equals 1 meter. Ease in out smooths out the movement so that it builds up speed at the start of any movement and then slows down at the end. If left unchecked, the movement speeds will be constant. If we select continuous, we have a couple of options. Start delay does just what it says. It delays the back and forth movement by a specific amount of time in seconds. This is especially useful if you have multiple items to animate, but you want to offset some of them. Change direction delay allows you to have a pause in between each back and forth movement. For example, if you have an automatic elevator and you want it to pause for a few seconds when it reaches the top, and also when it reaches the bottom, then you'll put that pause duration here. Next are the sound effects. Since we don't know how you'll be using the back and forth mod, we figured it would be best to leave these empty. If you want sound effects, you'll need to drop the sound effect audio files in these fields. Start reached SFX will play as soon as the object reaches the start position. Start left SFX will play as soon as the object leaves the start position. End reached SFX will play as soon as the object reaches the end position. And end left SFX will play as soon as the object leaves the end position. Now for the events. Continuous activated happens anytime continuous motion is turned on. Continuous deactivated happens anytime continuous motion is turned off. Start position reached happens anytime an object reaches the start position. Start position left happens anytime an object leaves the start position. End position reached happens anytime an object reaches the end position. And end position left happens anytime an object leaves the end position. How about a simple demonstration? Let's create a platform that takes us to the top of this wooden structure. I already have a platform in my scene. You can find the Smobs platform in the Platforms folder. I can make that platform act as an elevator by using the back and forth mod. You'll notice that when I select the mod, it shows a blue sphere and a line extending upward. The sphere represents the start position, and the end of the line represents the end position. Since we want our platform to move straight up, we can leave the mod's rotation as it is. If we needed our platform to move side to side or at an angle, we'd need to rotate it accordingly. Let's line up the back and forth mod with our platform. Since we're only moving our platform up and down, it doesn't really matter where we position the mod horizontally, but to make it easier to see and adjust the end position, let's place the mod level with the top of the platform. If our start position is lined up with the top of the platform, then the end position of our mod will represent where the top of the platform will be located when the platform reaches the end position. We want the top of the platform to be flush with the top of the structure, so we're going to need to scale the mod so that its end position is flush with the top of the structure. However, before we scale the mod, we need to make sure it's empty. We don't want anything in our mod's container. if we scale up our mod while the platform is in its container, then we might end up scaling the platform as well. Let's go ahead and scale the BackAndForthMod uniformly until the end position is level with the top of the wooden structure. I'm not going to worry too much about precision for this tutorial. The important thing is that the X, Y, and Z values of your BackAndForthMod are all the same. Otherwise, it can change the shape of anything in its container. Now that our mod is positioned and sized correctly, it's time to put our platform into the mod's container. Let's make sure our BackAndForthMod is set up properly before we test it out. We want the default state to be continuous. That way it'll be on when the game starts. I'll leave the speed where it is, and I'll make sure the movement is set to ease in and out. I also want a little time to get onto the platform when the game starts, so let's add a start delay of 3 seconds. Let's also add a 3-second delay each time our platform changes direction. That way we'll have plenty of time to get on and off before it takes off again. I think we're ready to test out our platform now. As you can see, the start delay is giving us the time we need to get on the platform before it takes off without us. Of course, we could always just wait for it to come back down. When it reaches the top, it should pause for a few seconds before heading back down. Let's make our elevator a little more interesting. Let's select the BackAndForthMod and move it so that our platform is lined up with the left side of the wooden structure. Since the platform is currently inside the mod's container, the platform should move with the mod. Before we rotate our mod, let's take the platform out of the mod. We only want to rotate the mod, not the platform. With the mod's container now empty, let's rotate the mod so that it points to the upper right corner of the structure. Now, let's scale it up until our blue line reaches all the way up until it reaches the corner. We might have to go back and forth between rotating it and scaling it until we get something we're happy with. Just be sure that any time you scale the BackAndForthMod to scale it uniformly. If the mod's X, Y, and Z values are not the same, then it could distort any items you put into its container. Now that we're done adjusting the mod, let's put the platform back into the container and test it out. Now we have an elevator that travels upward at an angle. As you can see, you're only limited by your imagination.